Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spitballing. I am Matt Taylor, here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundson.
And we're here today to do some spitballing, to figure out what the fuck we want to do with this podcast, where we want to go, who we want to talk to, all of that kind of shit. So, Mr. Amundson, we've been talking about doing this for quite some time.
Yeah. It super appeals to me. You're one of the funniest guys I know. Brilliant, really. Great writer, all that stuff. And I'm super glad to be here. Really excited about this.
You know, I was. It was about about a month ago that you came in to the 9th Street Social Club, which is where we are today. We're filming at the 9th Street Social Club. Thanks to Rob and Aaron for opening up their home to us. They don't actually live here. That's not true. But yeah, you stopped in, and I get to spend at least 8 seconds with you once every other month.
Man.
So when I saw you, you were like, dude, well, let's get together and do a podcast. And I was like, I'm totally in, but you never have any time. And you're like, well, you never have any time. But I was like, if we could just make it happen, it's worth having an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a month to hang out with you.
Absolutely. My son today told me, you'll have a good time. I'm like, shit, yeah, I have a good time. I'm like, I get to hang out with Matt fucking Taylor.
Right, exactly. That's what I think too. Like any excuse to spend some time with you. So, Kyle, what are your ideas for this thing? What do you want to do?
Man, first I think we need an assistant.
Right.
And as soon as we can afford a GIMP costume, I think that's the way to go. But as far as the subject matter and stuff, like I said on Facebook, the answer is yes.
Right.
I want to do whatever the hell we want to do with this. Like the guests, we know a lot of interesting people, really fun people.
We do.
We can cover some light stuff, some fun stuff. We can cover some heavy stuff that people are going to get pissed off at us about.
You think people get pissed off at you?
Well, in a perfect world, yes.
Yeah, I agree. What about taboos? What do you not want to go down?
Man, I don't know. I don't want to alienate any of our actual friends and stuff like that.
You don't actually have any actual friends, so I don't think that'll be too hard.
Yeah, already alienated those.
Right. I don't think we should really have any taboos. I think we should be willing to go any road, anywhere with anyone, and just let the chips fall
perfect
where they
date.
may. Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Like the perfect date, exactly. So, who are some people that you would like to have on this crazy adventure?
Well, man, we already talked about Brock. And,
Absolutely.
The only problem with that is keeping that fucker in frame.
Right, right, exactly.
If you guys don't know Brock Larson, he's the most high energy person that you will ever meet in your life. Like Richard Simmons ain't got shit on Brock. Getting him to sit down, sit tight for a little while, that might be tough. But he's a great, smart, interesting guy with some ridiculous life experiences, definitely. If not our first guest, we'll have to do it when it works out for him. But I mean,
right,
that's for sure. I mean, if we can get him on here, that would be spectacular.
Oh, and one of the things about having Brock on, he's been on so many podcasts and done so many things, and I've heard his his run-of-the-mill stories a million times, and I don't know if I could endure it again. But I talked to Brock about coming on, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely, man, I'll do anything for you." I said, I want to get into some real shit with you. And he's like, what do you want to get into? And I don't want to spoil the surprise, but we talked about going down some really interesting roads stories that I don't think anybody has ever heard, or at least not in their entirety. And he's like, how long is this fucking podcast? And I said, yes, it's as long as it needs to be. So that will be really fun. Another guy you brought up, and I think would be a great guest, is PJ Seegers.
Yeah, PJ is a local restaurateur with. He's a wonderful guy. He's super funny, great, very, very personable, and it has. We've had a chance to talk a little bit about his approach to hiring and how he treats his employees and stuff like that. And he's got some some progressive ideas out that he practices. Like I said, interesting guy. Just opened another restaurant up north a little ways. He and his girlfriend Katie are fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to having him on the show as well. But I mean, we just know so many, so many fun and interesting people. We got, there's 2 that we've talked about, but there's 200 that I've got people asking to be on the show already.
Yeah, I have too. PJ is an interesting guy. I'd be really interested in talking with him. I always kind of thought he was a douche for a long time, and he
just because I like him and he's interesting
does
not mean he's not a douche. I mean,
but,
people say that about me.
I started to get to know him actually just working here at the 9th Street, and we started talking about podcasting. And he is huge podcast listener, and I'm a huge podcast listener. And the next thing you know, we're besties trading podcast recommendations, and it's been really fun. And he's a funny motherfucker too. So
yes,
he will be a fun guest. Another guy that came up because we want to focus a lot on. I mean, we don't want to focus on anything, but we definitely want to. Try to profile some really interesting local talent, like some of the local chefs, and I don't know the dude's last name, but Jason, the chef out at the Woods,
Jason Hawley,
had a talk with him on Friday night and mentioned that we were probably going to be shooting this podcast Sunday, and he was like, "I will do anything to sit in front of a microphone with Kyle," and I said, "That's how I feel. That's why I'm doing this."
He is fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about him. We've partied together a lot, and he's another guy that I just don't get to see enough.
Right.
That would be fantastic. I would love that.
He said something that really cracked me up. He said Kyle's fantastic. Kyle on coke is really fantastic. And I said, well, there might be some coke involved. We'll see. We don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, not that I actually partake. Camera 2.
Yeah.
But shit. So Jason Hawley, Brock, and PJ. Let's see who else.
Well, I know Dave Badeau,
yes.
Councilman Dave
yes.
Badeau. He would like to come on. I think that would be a fun one. He's got a lot of podcast experience. Dave and I, we do not see eye to eye on about fucking anything. So
it's good. It makes for a lovely show.
Right. I mean, one of the things I think that we want to be careful of, and I definitely always do in my life, is not, to buy into my echo chamber and just like continually talk to people of like mind. Though I think Kyle and I like agree on probably 80-90% of our issues
for sure.
So I think it will be fun to have some guests on that might not I don't know adhere to our tribe, And plus,
Certainly.
I mean, he's a pussy, so we could just fuck him up if it doesn't work out.
The problem is he's so good looking. I don't know. We might have to do that one like without the video or something.
Well,
like that.
I think we should shave his head
Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
live.
Watch, he would probably look great on him. That would just piss me off even more.
Yeah,
But,
he would just have a perfect cranium, and he'd be like,
Fuck
Jesus
you, Dave
Christ.
Badeau. Man, there was somebody else I was thinking of. Shit, I lost it. Oh yeah, that's right. Of course, Clinton Struthers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would definitely want to have Clinton on.
Yes, absolutely. He's a super fun guy, a great friend of mine. Clinton. Well, at one point, I'd like to tackle in maybe our first heavy, installment. I'd like to tackle, biases and racism and
for sure.
And Clinton grew up around here and has got to see some stuff.
So, if for those of you who don't know Clinton, he is a man of color. So, and being a man of color in our little tiny
in the 218
in our little 218 might be a little more challenging than, or not challenging. I don't know. Let's talk to Clinton about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we come from a place of privilege. I don't fucking know.
Indeed. But and I've got other people that I keep thinking about as well that I'm like, they would be great on the show. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, so far it's kind of a boys' club, but you know, we do know a lot of interesting women too. That,
Yeah, I don't know any interesting women. But
that's I couldn't think of any, but
right.
I just know that I know
we do.
some.
I'm sure that we do. Well, they'll come out of the woodwork,
right?
So if you guys out there in TV, podcast, YouTube land are interested in coming on the show, get a hold of us because we'll reject you.
Yeah,
but,
we're pretty much begging for feedback at this point. A lot of people were really excited when they first heard about this, but now they're flaking out and being cunts about it. So I would there's a couple of things like one reoccurring thing that we talked about doing, and we're kind of excited about was a reoccurring like Dear Abby style advice column sort of thing.
Right, because Kyle and I are both like sage old men,
absolutely,
and we can give you some sage bombs.
Yeah, I mean we're old and we've learned some shit. Usually the hard way. Most of that shit we've forgotten.
Right.
And, are prone to make repeat our mistakes. But it's somewhere along the line we did learn it, and like your problems might jog our memories, even if they're made up ones. As long as we can have fun with it. Oh, that's the other thing. If you do send us a serious problem, know that nothing is off limits for us, and chances are we'll make light of it. So I mean, there is that, but I really do welcome your feedback, and we really appreciate you guys, sending stuff in. I mean, if your friends as far as on Facebook or something like that, send it that way. But mostly we like all that stuff channeled towards the Spitballing page.
Yeah. For example, if you're feeling suicidal and you want to, talk to us about suicide help, you are loved, A, and B, we'd be happy to give you some good solid advice on how to do it. You want to definitely go vertically, not horizontally.
I spit my water out. I didn't know you were going to go there. I appreciate that.
I always thought it would be fun to do like a suicide helpline, and where people would call up and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm feeling really bad," and it'd just be, "All right, okay, so what's your method? What are you thinking? Do you have a plan? All right, okay, that plan sucks. So think this through."
You being the technologically savvy and English speaking one, is there any way to count how many watchers we just lost? That reminded me of when I post stuff on Facebook along with my friend count at that time, right when I post it, and then get back to it later well, that cost me a couple, but
Well, this being our very first episode, there is no way to do that. However, we will see zero growth, so that will be how it works.
And we'll find out who can take a fucking joke.
I wasn't joking.
This is not the show for you.
I was not joking. Actually, I thought it was a solid business plan, and I'm going to start the funding page. So if anybody's interested in giving to that would be great. Okay. Speaking of Facebook, Kyle, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because when you mentioned to me that you were thinking that we should get together and actually try to do this thing, I said, I'll hit you up on Facebook. And you said, yeah, I'm in Facebook jail again. And I was like, I didn't even know there was such a thing as Facebook jail. So what the fuck is going on with you and Facebook?
Well, here's fucking Facebook. Shit's changed a lot. Now, it used to, I've been reported many times. And for the longest time, I would get these little notifications saying, telling me that there was nothing wrong with my post and that I was cleared, cool, done, and nothing, I got kind of cocky after receiving a few of those, like I was fucking untouchable, whatever. And then I posted something, and it was a meme about a guy catch. It was kind of advice meme. It was basically if you catch your girlfriend sleeping with a black guy, don't get crazy. Just bust out his headlight, and the cops will shoot him for you. And which I didn't take as a racist meme. I thought that was more of a I thought that was more about
making a comment on social commentary. Yeah.
And apparently Facebook did not see it that way. I don't know if it was an algorithm thing or if I got reported, whatever. So I wound up in Facebook jail for 3 days. Then I was out for a day, and then, and I'm pretty sure this was an AI one because there's no way a human being could make this mistake. And then I got hit for something that I posted before I posted the last one, and it was in a conversation on Facebook, and we were talking about how people still can't get over like their hatred of Barack Obama. There's still, I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of you knew this, but a lot of people are still really pissed off at Barack Obama. And, to say that like not everything is racism, but, there's a lot of cousin fuckers out there. You know who you are. And I posted this thing. I'm like, what is with all that hatred? I don't understand. Where could that be coming from? And then I posted a picture of a few Klansmen, and that was it. And the picture, like they saw the picture, and boom, I wound up in Facebook jail for a fucking week, and it was over my mother's fucking birthday. So I couldn't give my mom a big birthday shout out on Facebook. That pissed me off. And there's no people to get a hold of at Facebook. There's no human beings. There's no appeal process. You just have to ride out your fucking suspension, which, if any of you are Facebook friends of mine, I kind of have a bit of a problem. I don't, it's not a problem for me. It's a problem for people that don't fucking, they think I post too much, whatever, because I have a great time with it. And I make a lot of people laugh, like I put a lot of funny shit on there. It's not funny to everybody, but, just like with this show, they can fucking kick rocks. They can beat feet, go down the road. Like, this is, it's not for you, then don't sit and get stew and get pissed off and watch it. Yeah. And then I had a friend contact me, Chris Nelson, that used to live in town here.
Yeah.
Tell Chris.
Yeah, I remember Chris.
And he had taken a picture. He moved down south. I forget. I think he moved to Arkansas. So he was driving through a town, and they had a KKK fucking billboard up, and he took pictures of the billboard and posted that. Boop. That shit landed him in Facebook jail for 3 days. So, I mean, basically, you need to be careful, like, posting just pictures of Klansmen, even if you're making fun of them or whatever, because that shit is hate speech, apparently.
So, so the algorithm does not get irony.
No.
Or sarcasm.
And there's nobody to appeal to be like, if a human reads this, there's no way you're going to fuck that up unless you're totally fucking stupid. Which, beyond totally fucking stupid. Yeah, there's no way a human can make that mistake. Yeah, shit. So I was in Facebook jail.
What landed you in Facebook jail the last time? Was it that one?
That was the one.
That was the one? So it's just been twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
A 3-day and then a 7-day, and we'll see what's next.
Right. Is there a 3-strike rule on Facebook or anything like that?
I don't know, but I'm telling you, Facebook jail changes a man. It wasn't pretty. I came out of there, I had cornrows. I had a little guy wearing lipstick following me around with his hand in my pocket.
Well, you only weighed like $185 when you went in. So
yeah. It was. I came out of there a hardened con. But Facebook jail is shitty. But Facebook overall is fucking amazing. I love it. It's the only social media that I partake in. Everybody's telling me like, you need Twitter. I'm like, I don't fucking need Twitter. I've got Facebook. I don't like. You've seen how much I post on Facebook. You think I have fucking time for other like social media?
Right.
Like,
right.
Fuck.
Yeah, I don't do any other social media either. We were talking a little bit before the podcast just about like Snapchat and like I absolutely can't figure it out.
Yeah. I think, like myself, I think you absolutely won't figure it out.
Right.
I'm
just like,
I don't give a fuck. I don't care enough to invest the time in it. It's just like it's like video games nowadays.
Right.
Look fucking like console video games look fucking amazing. So cool. So much cooler than what we played. But man, I can't manipulate all those fucking buttons, and I'm not going to like train myself to do it. And the whole time you're playing online with some 12-year-old just fucking mopping the floor with you, just treating
talking,
you like,
talking the worst
shit
like
ever. Saying hateful things about my beloved mother and shit like that. You little cunt. But those motherfuckers will just kill you out there, and you're trying to keep up and you're trying to learn, but like you're never gonna have as much time as that fucking kid to he hasn't even had puberty yet. He's not even talk to me when you're fucking spending all your time beating your meat, you little shit. But no, it's just another one of those technology things that I'm like, nah, I don't give a fuck.
So speaking of the technology thing, so my son, who's 17 now, he started getting really into VR. Last summer he worked all summer. He saved up and got the Oculus Rift headset and a computer. And then he just recently, I actually think it's sitting at my son's house right now. He just got like the new Oculus headset, and I've tried that thing, and it scares the shit out of me, dude. I mean, it is like right away I put it on and I'm like, don't like it, fucking don't like this, and it's just so crazy how you are really like immersed into this other world. It's mind blowing. And then he finally got a game that I could play, and it's called Beat Saber, and you have a red lightsaber and a blue lightsaber, and then they throw boxes at you, and whichever you have to fuck it, right? And so we're playing this thing, and I am just drenched in sweat.
I was gonna say, that sounds like a
oh,
potential
dude,
workout.
it was so great.
Can you hold dumbbells or something like that?
That's what I told him. I said we need to weight these things so I could be yeah. But yeah, it's very addictive. But it's crazy because it's just crazy how incredibly fast the technology is changing, and how well young people adapt to it, and how I've always thought of myself as pretty technically savvy, and now I'm like, what? I can't. What? I mean, I was struggling to get the picture up on the fucking TV.
Yeah. And then I walk in and he asked me if I can do it, and I'm like, fuck. Really?
He said he can't even. Kyle said he couldn't even program his VCR. So
I'm gonna record Wapner. That was a fucking dated reference. But speaking of dated references, so the virtual reality thing, that made me think of something I heard a stand-up comic say many years ago when they was talking about virtual reality, and I forget what the exact quote was or who it was even, but the gist of it was when an unemployed steelworker can sit home and fuck the most ridiculous porn star you can imagine all day, that shit is gonna make crack look like Pez. I mean, right. Damn, I'm afraid of virtual reality. I just that was another thing. Besides manipulating all the buttons and shit, I'm and I'm not having all the time to spend on learning new video games and shit. I'm like, do I want to how much do I want to get that into this?
Right? Because I might not come out the other side.
Yeah, I one of the things about I always tell people, I'm like, I've never picked up anything I couldn't put down. I don't I don't really understand the whole addiction thing and shit like that, because except for my sweet tooth, except for sugar, really there's nothing has ever really grabbed on me,
Really?
No, yeah, I even fucking quitting smoking was meh, fuck, gross, I'm done. I still still smoking, I'm all fucked up, but I mean that's not very often. Part of my success that has been that looks fucking amazing.
Right.
Not gonna try it.
Right.
If it looks too fucking good, I might shy away from it. When I heard that I heard that heroin was better than people have told me heroin is better than sex. No.
You're like, no.
Homie
don't want to play that.
Because if I was anyway. Long story short, I just don't fucking I don't want to do anything that's better than the best thing I can fucking imagine, because fuck of all the shit that comes along with that,
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but virtual reality, is virtual reality another thing that I want to avoid like that? I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting.
Kind of I
just am wondering where it's gonna go. I mean, I was talking to Peyton about it, and he was telling me that
he's fucking 17 now.
17, got a fucking car, is driving and shit. It's crazy.
God damn.
I know.
Where does the fucking time go? I remember him schooling me on dinosaurs.
Right.
On our way. I forget where we were going.
Going to some fight somewhere or something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's crazy. It's fast. But he's talking about he wants a 3D printer now because he can build some shit in this virtual world and then 3D print it and stuff. And I'm like, I'm like, Peyton is either gonna be able to buy and sell me, right, or he's gonna live in my basement for the rest of his life. It's A or B. There is no in between. So.
Or maybe AAAB,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. talking about what's that? Snapchat. Talking about Snapchat.
Yeah.
So in my real life, on my day job, I work for a nonprofit organization. I don't want to get too much into it, but I work a lot with kids, and this is just kind of how my sense of humor runs, and how maybe it's a little contrary to the social norm. They were talking about sex trafficking, and they were talking about how now on Snapchat apparently you can exchange money now. There's some way to pay people through Snapchat, which whatever.
Like Venmo, kind of.
Who knows? I was like, it was all going over my head. But it's kind of like PayPal, whatever. But they were saying like this is a big danger now because like kids are like sending pictures for money for people or whatever. And I said, oh, that's
It's
just
a brave new world.
I said that's just great. So now like the new face of sex trafficking is going to look like a elf with the big eyes and no. And they all like this table of very like woke social workers were all like looking at me, and I was like, because of the filters, like
Those annoying fucking filters.
And I know, it's so bad. It's like I mean, if it can make me hot, like that's rough,
Well, that's not fair. Keep in mind the reason we almost didn't go with video is so that we could be taken seriously and not just see as sex objects.
We don't want to just be
we are not pieces of meat.
Well, technically,
well,
I mean,
End
of times I'm butchering you, dude.
Fair enough.
You got
feed me for a
some
long
nice
time.
Nice size calves.
And then we don't, unless we can bring down Cody.
Yeah, true.
We can live off that fucker for years. He's a big man.
Actually, Peyton the other day asked me if he's always wants to talk about the end of times. He always wants to talk about the zombie apocalypse, And he's like, "Hey, Dad, if the zombie apocalypse happens, and you have to kill somebody, like, are you gonna eat them?" And I said, "Well, Pace, it really depends on how early on this is. Like, if I have to kill somebody day one, I'm not gonna eat them.
I'm not gonna be throwing away goddamn pork chops and burger out of the freezer and shit, so I can make room for my neighbor Steve.
Exactly. But I'm definitely gonna butcher them and store them. Just
if you got a chest freezer, that's a different, different story.
Right.
It's only
There's
reasonable.
No point. I'm not gonna jump right into cannibalism.
Well, would think that would make somebody feel better too. Like, this motherfucker's killing me. At least I'm not going to go to waste.
Right.
Right. It's another way to look at it. I mean, shit. People just automatically, it's such a fucking taboo. Whatever. How do you know that you're not delicious?
Right. I'm sure you are.
Could be.
I mean,
I think I'd be well marbled. Anyway. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, the Islanders used to call it long pork.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In the pirate days. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, and then they there were some famines in China, back in the day and stuff, and sailors, merchant mariners and stuff would come back with stories of having tried it and shit like that. I was reading about a serial killer, the scariest fucking serial killer
really?
I ever read about.
I can't do that.
Oh fuck! This story was so Albert Fish, Albert Fish, I think, was the guy's name. And the account that I read was so fucking disturbing I couldn't even read it all in one sitting, and I'm pretty thick-skinned, bizarre shit is not, outside of my wheelhouse. I mean, not me personally, as far as you know.
Well.
But no, I couldn't even read this all in one sitting. I had to fucking get up and go for a drive and shit and clear my head and just get some of that fucking evil off me.
What was so bad about it? What was it?
Man, well, he preyed on kids, and the most famous case, he had kidnapped a kid after talking his way into the home. I mean, you got to remember, this is so long ago. Strangers weren't always such a menace, and he basically convinced them that he had a farm, and had a grandchild that was the same age and stuff like that, and just had this big, elaborate story made up. And he was this kindly old man. So they're like, yeah, that's fine. Send the kid off with him. And then they don't hear shit for the longest time until he starts sending them letters and shit, taunting them and telling them what he did. And, and just Yeah, it was fucked up, man.
Really?
Yeah, like torture, cannibalism, fucking like just horrible, just disturbing shit. And like I said, if I think it's disturbing, anybody that doesn't find it disturbing, you might want to keep an eye on that motherfucker.
So what year around was this?
Oh man, I want to say this is like turn of the century.
Oh, okay.
Or well,
Okay.
turn of the previous century. I forget when I say turn of the century. I'm old.
What are you talking about? Like the late 1800s, early 1900s? Okay, yeah.
But
Oh yeah, that's right. We are. Yeah.
yeah,
You mean like 2000,
Yeah.
2001?
back in the day.
That was a hell of a long time ago already.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So I listen to a shit ton of podcasts. And I started going down the road of like some of those serial killer podcasts and shit. And I just can't do it. I can't do it. I listened to In the Dark, which was about the Jacob Wetterling podcast, and it's amazing because I heard about it coming out, and I was like, dude, I lived Jacob Wetterling. I know all about that
Yeah.
case.
He wasn't he like our age?
Yeah. Like basically, I think he was a couple of years younger than me.
Younger, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I grew up with the Jacob Wetterling thing, and I was like, I know everything about it, and dude, I didn't know anything about that case. Nothing.
Well, we were kids,
right. But you just like it kind of becomes part of like, it's kind of part of the makeup of why we like are fucking afraid to let our kids go into the park.
Yeah,
and shit.
I mean that was a close one for us. Like that shit struck home, and like because it was not far away, and and look at now. Like now we barely bat an eye. Like I mean, does anybody know? How many people remember that girl's name that they found not far away, like over here in Motley and stuff. That that was just like 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. Like that shit doesn't. We're so desensitized to shit. It's horrifying.
But if anybody is interested in that kind of stuff, really check that podcast out. It's amazing. It's amazing how incredibly fucking incompetent the Stearns County Police Department was, or Sheriff's Department was, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, definitely check it out. Yeah, you're not really a huge podcast guy.
No, I've watched a couple of episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast. Just because I find him immensely entertaining, although his stand-up mostly sucks. But I don't love his stand-up. Yeah, I like. Okay, but I think he's hilarious. Like I thought he was hilarious as an actor. He was on news radio back in the day, and that fucking show was brilliant. It was so funny. And I have enjoyed some of his stand-up. But mostly, I don't love it. I love his show, though. I mean, and he's such a cool guy, the stand-up comedy. I love, and I love that he gets to do shit that like other stand-up comics won't touch, like him calling out like Carlos Mencia for like stealing material.
So that's one of the best YouTube clips of all time.
Oh my, yeah. And when Carlos is like, oh, like he's not. Oh no, not me. Like oh, fuck, you're the only one that's saying that. And then he's like. And then he like calls the other guy like to his defense, and he's like, "Actually, Carlos, yeah, you did steal one of my bits."
Yeah.
And fuck, that was awesome. And then he's like, "Is he gonna get in Joe Rogan's face?" I'm like, "I wouldn't do that."
Well, I mean, that's part of like I listen to Joe Rogan and watch a lot of YouTube stuff of his too, and I love him. But as I think part of the reason why he's so fearless when it comes to doing shit like that is because he's such a capable human being. I mean, like, what's Carlos Mencia gonna do to Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan,
catch
fuck
a
him
dirty
up.
fucking beating.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, very cool.
I watched that video on how hard Joe Rogan can kick.
Yeah, motherfucking kick.
Good lord. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew he had like jiu-jitsu. I knew that he had like a kickboxing background and stuff, and I know that he's a very competent when it comes to jiu-jitsu and stuff. But man, that the video, like the velocity, like the power in those kicks and shit, I was like, God damn, that's serious business.
Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting thing. I was. So I don't know. I'll talk a little bit about myself. I have a day job where I work at a nonprofit with some runaway and homeless youth. that's not really my identity. I think really like if somebody says, "What are you?" You know, I think that like it's hard to put a pin in that. But I think the thing that I am most of all is a martial artist. You know, I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here in Brainerd, and that's the thing that probably defines me more than anything else is the martial arts thing. But then I also do a lot of stuff working at the farm on St. Matthias. I do all sorts of crazy projects for them. I try to do a little bit of art in my life, and then I also bartend at the 9th Street Social Club. So I'm busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest always. That's why when this came up, I was like, oh, exactly what I need is one more thing. But I enjoy being busy, and I enjoy all of the different aspects of my life, and I have ridiculous ADD, so having it just always be different keeps me from being bored. But in my life teaching jiu-jitsu, my older son, who is going to be 25 here in just a little bit, was just
the first Logan, fight. By the way. I had that conversation with my wife. Did I tell you about that?
No.
So my stepson's name is Logan, and he's 14, and she's like, we were talking about people naming their kids Logan after the Wolverine movie started, and she's like, yeah, but my son was the first Logan, and I'm like, no, Christine. I know the first Logan. I mean, not the first Logan, but all the people I know and stuff like that. Yeah.
So actually,
it wasn't a popular name then.
It wasn't at all. And when my first wife was pregnant with Logan, we were batting around a lot of different names, and they just all were stupid. And I was like, no.
There's a lot of shitty names.
And then somebody said, how about Logan? And I was like, Wolverine? Yep. That'll work. So he's actually named after Wolverine, or not named after, but that's the only reason I agreed to that name is because I was like. And
if any of you just instantly imagined Hugh Jackman, you can go fuck yourself. Wolverine was way cooler. Hugh Jackman is a casting fucking nightmare in that role.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
So we're going to agree to disagree on that because I actually really liked it, especially Logan, the final movie. I really liked it.
He's a foot taller than Wolverine is supposed to be. Foot.
Okay. Wolverine was short. I'll agree with that.
Wolverine wasn't pretty. He was
pretty hairy.
I mean,
yeah. Anyway, my son Logan, who does not have claws coming out of his hand, he had his first MMA fight a while ago, and he has been training jiu-jitsu most of his life. I think he started him out when he was 9 or 10, and and he's really he's really good in the grappling realm. But the kid has never thrown a punch in his life, and so I'm starting to try to I was before the fight. I'm trying to break him into just the rudimentary stuff. And we were talking about kicking. This is how this all came up. And one of the guys who I trained with, who is a purple belt, his name's Ted, in jiu-jitsu, but he's a black belt, been a black belt in karate for years through Ultimate Martial Arts. And I was just talking about kind of showing a round kick and just kind of talking. And then Ted comes over and is like, yeah, okay. And he starts to kind of put his input in, and then he kicks that fucking bag, and I'm like, oh, don't ever fucking kick me. Jesus Christ, man. The power of that, the way he flips his hip over and fucking just, and I mean, he's not he's a well-built, guy who's, pushing 50, and yet, dude, I think if he kicked me, I would just break in half and die. That's it. And it's oh yeah, Ted's a bad motherfucker. So yeah. So it's really something like you're saying about Joe.
Yeah. If you're not well trained, don't try to throw a kick in a fist fight.
Never.
That ends horribly.
And actually,
fucking 100% of the time.
Even going into that MMA fight, we were just talking about kicks, but that was not in the game plan. If you don't have, you shouldn't kick unless you really, really know what you're doing in any kind of altercation. But yeah, that was fun.
But yeah, that was a fun fight, and man, he was so jacked up afterwards. It was it was beautiful to see.
It was. So, like I said, my son Logan had his first MMA fight, and there's a little bit of a story about how that happened. there was this guy out there. His name is Mike Wall, and I think he has some mental illness or some. The kid's got some issues, and
Is he a kid? Or
no,
is he
he's
our age?
40 something. But he's still a kid.
Yeah.
He talked an enormous amount of shit before the fight.
It's kind of what he does. It's kind of like WWE wrestling.
Very
type,
much so.
Shit. Which is, and that's the entertaining part of that stuff, and when I watch the videos, they're kind of entertaining.
Yeah. They're kind of sad, but they're kind of entertaining.
Well, yeah. But I couldn't tell if he was I couldn't tell.
I still don't know,
not.
dude, if he's serious or not. But before even Logan signed up for the fight, he was calling out Jesse Hernandez. Okay, so this kid weighs 120 pounds, and this man weighs 120 pounds, and is calling out Jesse Hernandez, who is a guy who's trained for a real long time. He's had some wins and had some loses. I'm not that bad at grammar, dude. That's
English is hard.
That's a long old story
Bastard
about wins and
language.
loses.
But Jesse's a tough kid, man.
Jesse's a tough kid who's 170 pounds and literally would kill Mike Wall. I mean, that would be a bad day. So, but he was just wouldn't stop, and it just went totally all over Facebook. I mean, that was like one of the funniest weeks of my life reading all that shit. So then Brock calls me up and says, "Hey, okay, I got this fight in Brainerd coming up in 7 weeks." He's like, I got to get somebody to fight this Mike Wall kid, but nobody from my gym can do it because the commission won't approve it. Who do you got who's 125 pounds? And I'm like, Logan. He's the only one. He's the only person that's that small in our gym. And he's like, perfect, he's fighting. And I was like, I'll ask him. And he said, nah, it's unnecessary. he'll be fighting Mike Wall. So I
know Mr. Larson.
I go to him and I say, Logan, Brock said you're fighting this Mike Wall kid in 6-7 weeks. And he's like, well, what? I don't know. And I said, this isn't really a choice. I said, you're doing this. So let's just figure out the schedule and get you trained up. And Logan, being the trooper he is, said, all right, let's do it, and trained his ass off and really got ready for it. And then he went out there and obliterated the kid. But beforehand, in the waiting or in the back room in the dressing room, as he's getting his hands wrapped and everything, Brock is telling Logan, just pumping him up, and he says this. He said, this fucking kid doesn't deserve your respect. I want you to go in there, and I want you to ragdoll him. I want you to take him out. He doesn't deserve your respect. Fuck this kid. And just when Logan's just so he goes out there, smokes the kid in 12 seconds. The guy swung at him, hit him in the elbow. Logan jabbed him in the face, took him down, and choked him out with a rear naked choke in 12 seconds. And then afterward, gets up and just fucking puts his hand in the air, and he's just popping his chest out, and just totally, the guy goes to give him a hug, and Logan just nothing, just total asshole. And I'm like, what a cock. So then he gets out, and we're, and I'm helping him, and I said, okay, dude, all right, now go over to Mike and shake his hand and tell him he did a good job. And he goes, why? And I said, because you just humiliated him in front of a couple thousand people. I mean, it's time to be, magnanimous.
Gracious, yes.
He's like, Brock said no respect. And I said, dude, that was not a fucking life sentence. That was just go in there and get your job done. That wasn't this.
That was some Cobra Kai shit.
Yeah, that was not like if you see this guy on the road, don't run him over. It was just for that time period. But so Logan was gracious afterward. But then the cocksucker fucking went on a trash talk and started talking more shit. Said he wanted to fight Brock next. And the Damian Hill, who was really awesome, is like, you want to fight Brock Larson? Brock's had
nobody wants to fight Brock Larson.
No, and he's like, well,
Brock Larson doesn't even want to fight Brock Larson.
I would fight him on ice skates. I fight. And Damian Hill's like, if you're serious, I totally think I can make that happen. I mean, it was so fucking funny because oh my god, yeah. So. But I think the kid actually, the man, actually has some mental issues. So I don't want to spend too much time tearing him down. But he does that all by himself, and he does a very good job of it.
Yeah, I had people. Actually, Jesse Hernandez. I'm friends with his family, and like his mom was like, have you seen this? Like sending me stuff like on Facebook and stuff. Like, have you seen this guy? And I'm like, oh my, this is something else. But
yeah, that kid.
But yeah, I mean, there's some personalities in if you think the whole MMA world is just a bunch of a bunch of meatheads like bashing each other's brains and shit. There's some personalities. There's some interesting, fun, cool people, and there's some not so cool, really fucking weird people. But yeah, they're interesting nonetheless. The personalities, man. Jeez.
It was fun having that fight. It had been a long time since we'd had a fight in the area, and then we didn't get to do much together. You just came, but back in the day, Kyle and I used to do. I used to do video production for just a pile of fights, and Kyle was my official ring girl wrangler. Was your title?
Yeah. That was those were the days. It was a good time. Through the gym and other stuff. Like I just knew a lot of girls that look good in swimsuits.
Right.
So putting together that sort of thing for shows, that was great. Those girls were wonderful. It was such a good time.
I miss doing it. I miss having
so
that.
much.
I mean, I don't miss the hundreds and hundreds of hours of work that I would do for no money, but I just miss like our road tripping across wherever and having some of the craziest conversations of all time.
You remember that
with a pile of hot chicks. I mean, it was a really rough job. It was a really,
right.
really rough job.
Yeah, my job was the really stressful part.
This is a microphone.
Oh yes, damn it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, look at me. It's in front of my face. I'm gonna eat it sooner or later. I'm gonna bite out of this fucking thing.
There is that.
You remember that guy that we flew up from Texas or whatever to fight Brock? I think it was at the Myth. The guy that couldn't make weight.
The
and just
big head
kept getting heavier and heavier.
Is that the one that knocked him out?
No, the guy that
that was at
they didn't wind up having the fight because the guy just could not like guts in a tone, couldn't make weight. He was supposed to fight Brock, and the fight wound up getting canceled because oh yeah, man, because the guy came up from Texas and he
I do remember, yeah,
and he couldn't make weight, so they were like, okay, they're like, if you can make it to this weight, we'll still have the fight. Nope. Okay, if you can make it to this weight, we'll still have the fight. It shows up even heavier, and it's like, dude, you got off the plane and just started fucking eating the state of Minnesota. God damn it, our buddy wants to kick your ass. Can we make this happen? And just finally, he just ate his way out of the damn fight. And then I got to write that fake interview about where I was giving him snacks to keep talking, to continue the interview.
Do you have it? Because you should. Because that was some funny shit. I do. That was one of the tickling my memory. That was a hell of a long time ago.
That was one of that's some of the most fun I've ever had writing anything. Because and I was like, man, I hope this guy never reads this because I'm pretty sure he'd come to Minnesota just to beat my fucking head in. But
I don't think he can make weight though.
Right? I'd be like, oh, now you want to fight? I'm still friends with Brock, dude. You can still make that happen. He'll fuck you up. Oh, but and poor Brock, of course, Brock's a professional, he shows up, he's trained hard, he's made weight, and then this fucking guy just can't take it seriously, he's
right.
Not the real deal where Brock is, and the fight just didn't wind up happening, but those were some fun fights anyway. That was a great venue. I like that place.
The Myth, having fights at the Myth.
Yeah,
that was fun. Yeah. So speaking of writing, you have done a lot of writing, and people. Oh, actually, so I was talking to Jason the other day, the kid, the chef out of the woods, and that was one of the things that he said about you that I liked was he was like, Kyle looks like a meathead, and it's always interesting to have this intellectual conversation with this guy who just looks like he never he's never read a book in his life, and yet I know you read a lot, and you also write some pretty entertaining stuff.
Writing is hard. But yeah, I was a really bookish child. I lived way out in the country, and my mother was actually both my parents were avid readers, but I was kind of a mama's boy, and she is mostly responsible for me reading like the classics and just a lot of stuff like Shakespeare and all these things that I absorbed when I was a kid, and now what do I read? Not much.
Really?
I don't read nearly as much as I should, as much as I'd like to. Well, for the longest time, that sleep apnea thing, like I would open a fucking book and be out like that.
Oh, right.
I was falling asleep at stoplights and stuff, which actually I'd like to get back to that another time because I'd like to talk about the whole sleep apnea thing. That shit is like that. That CPAP machine has been a total game changer. But no writing. I was actually just thinking about this today because I like your writing. There we go.
Thank you.
Fucking Mutual Admiration Society here. We're just gonna fucking make out for you guys.
We will make out. That will happen.
Hot. Don't think that's never happened. We know each other a long time. But so I was thinking about like the only thing that I've like one of my friends have like ever written that made me cry. You wrote What a Visit to See Your Dad.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, or we'll both fucking cry. But anyway, Matt's a spectacular writer. I write, like about some funny shit here and there, but I can't, I don't know. I really enjoy it. I wish I was better at it. Wish I didn't use so many fucking commas. Wish I didn't swear so much. Not really. I don't give a fuck about that. But yeah, I love writing. I always wanted to write like something significant. But and I was talking about George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones and stuff,
right,
with somebody the other day, and they kind of brought it up and like something that I always think about. Because he writes so slowly and like you're waiting like a decade for the next book to come out and shit,
right.
So do I, the last episode of Game of Thrones, like that last season and stuff, am I mad? Fuck no, I needed some resolution, because
right.
he's not going to finish that shit before he dies,
Right. He might not finish that shit, but I mean, I might die before he finishes
right?
that. Right.
And so I was like, but can I fault the guy? Because it's fucking hard to you get back to manufacturing Inspirato, like if you don't feel it, you don't fucking feel it,
I had the exact same conversation on Friday night here, which is interesting because I was asking you about writing, which I want to come back to. We'll spin around because you have some stuff that I thought was fucking brilliant, but yeah, I'm jerking them off under the table right now, guys. It's fine. But
this is what we do like all the time. We're just like, Matt, you're the greatest. No, Kyle, you're the greatest. Like, oh, you good-looking motherfucker. You're so handsome.
Right. When we were shooting our own names, we thought the Mutual Admiration Society was one that would have worked. But Game of Thrones. One of the things on Facebook you mentioned that thank you for finishing up because this has been a 20-year journey for you.
So fucking long.
And I said something like, yeah, man, I realized that I read the first book when my first wife was pregnant with my first son, which was 25 years ago.
I thought you were gonna call me out for still having one of your books because I think I do.
Oh, probably, which is okay. I gift it to you.
I paid the iron price for that shit.
Very good. It's it was amazing to I've been on that's a generation journey that I've been on with this writing, and it was nice. So you were satisfied, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
I
wouldn't say satisfied.
By the way, spoiler alert. I mean, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, I can skip ahead, whatever, because we might accidentally say something cool.
True. There was a lot of stuff, it didn't end the way that I saw it ending, from a ways off. Satisfied? No, because I love that shit. Those books. When I found out that HBO had picked up the option for those books, I tell people first I look around to make sure my kids aren't around, and then I say it was the greatest day of my life.
Right.
But those books were a big deal to me. I fucking love them. Brilliant writing. George R.R. Martin. I always like to tell people in our age group this because a lot of people don't realize it. Beauty and the Beast with Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
That was George R.R. Martin that wrote that shit.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. That was cool.
At least like the lion's share of those.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Ron Perlman, his character looked like a lion, the Beast. But
if they don't get it, they don't need to.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, there's a lot of shit that I would have done. I don't know what I would have done. I would have fucking fizzled after like a half a book and never wrote that shit. But satisfied, maybe not satisfied, but I really enjoyed it and I was really glad for some resolution and stuff like that. Of course I'd like to see more. I'll just eat that shit up.
Right.
But I mean, spin-offs are dangerous.
Well, they are, except that Martin has done spin-offs. Like you've read The Hedge Knight.
Yeah,
Fucking, that would make a great movie. That would be a great movie, great 2-hour movie, or make a great. I mean, you don't want to make it into a series because it's.
And HBO being the powerhouse that they are, they're not afraid of movies.
Jesus Christ, these last
Deadwood. Look at fucking Deadwood.
Right.
I waited. How long did we wait for them to wrap that shit up?
So actually, I only watched a little bit of Deadwood, and I actually stopped because I found out that they stopped making it, and I'm like, you ain't leaving me on a cliffhanger, bitch. Homie don't play that. So I actually quit. Even though I liked the show, I quit because I didn't want to be
Let me
gutted.
tell you about Firefly.
Yeah, see, now that's another issue. Okay, but we have to stay fucking focused.
I know.
Martin, they could do some spin-offs. Now, I'm kind of on the same page with you. I was satisfied, or whatever. But at the bar the other night, as I was bartending, we were talking about Martin's writing, and somebody was bitching about like him not finishing it, and I was like, okay, how many books have you written? These are several thousand pages a piece, and there are 6 of the motherfuckers
with a crazy fucking amount of background that's been developed and stuff like that. That
right.
doesn't even go into the books necessarily. I mean, I don't think people appreciate what kind of task this was.
Right.
And look at fucking Tolkien. I mean, good Lord.
Right. Right. So Martin is an amazing writer, and for those of you who like Game of Thrones, the HBO series, I really recommend going and getting the books and reading them. I am a huge Audible fan, and I listen to a gazillion books. But
I thought you said edibles for a second there. I was going to say, well, who isn't? But,
me, actually. Well, I can tell the edible story. Oh, my God, I'll tell it.
Me too. I've actually never even tried edibles.
Oh, I got a great edible story. We got to get back to that. We got to come around. But I really suggest that you read them. And like I said, I'm a really big audio book fan. That's the only books that I would not suggest listening to, because the narration is weird and I find it super distracting. I've listened to just piles of books, and those are ones that I say, no, pick that fucker up and turn those actual real pages, or get it on your Kindle if you're a bitch. But I mean, but they're definitely worth. There's so much depth that they don't get into in the HBO series that is definitely worth going down the trail. So.
And if you're upset because you don't have you're out a show and you need a show, man, watch The Expanse. That shit is on Amazon. It's so fucking good. And I haven't read the books. I haven't read those books.
Yeah.
I hear amazing things.
I have too.
But the show is dope.
Now, they canceled it.
Sci-Fi canceled it. And Amazon scooped that shit up. There was a huge fan,
I remember the outcry because I watched the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then it ended, and then.
Well, there's 3 seasons on Amazon right now, and and I think the 4th one will be out this winter.
Then I'll continue. So I was super angry when The Expanse got canceled, and then whatever, but okay, so there is a 3rd season, and okay, so The Expanse is a show that is about it's a future kind of space opera thing, but it's a near space show, there
Earth,
is no
Mars,
faster than light travel,
and
so it's Earth and Mars and the asteroid belt and everything. Probably one of the most realistic sci-fi-ish shows out there. Amazing acting.
Oh, so good.
I can't point to anything I didn't like about it.
No, it's a.
And I'm
fine
only
show.
in season 2. Don't recognize it. But I finished season 2, and then I don't get a lot of time. Everybody says I don't watch a lot of television, but I don't watch a lot of television.
At least you're not one of those annoying fucks that says I don't even own a TV.
Actually, I say that.
Oh,
I don't own a
fuck.
TV. I have a computer with a big giant monitor, but I don't.
I know what you're getting for Christmas. From somebody that likes you more than me. But no, kidding. Nobody likes it more than I do.
But somebody that makes more than $6 an hour.
Right. Somebody that's not sucking dick for coke. No, but no, that you don't own a TV. Damn it, man. Fucking hipster. No, but well, I mean, you watch shit on your computer.
I do.
You don't need a fucking TV.
Like the thing about it is I find the idea of sitting on the
what
couch.
I was going for was the people that like I don't, like I just read, I don't watch TV. Like fuck, come on, like there's some good shit out there.
There is absolutely good shit. What I find acceptable is sitting on the couch and like flipping through the channels and just like wasting time on whatever is on, and I'm like, nope. I only watch television with intention. So like I am going to watch Game of Thrones, right? Like right now I'm in the final season of.
Well, that's how you end up not wasting your life watching fucking commercials.
Right. I hate watching commercials too. Yep.
And then
right now I'm finishing
shitty
the
shows.
Walking Dead. I'm just in the final season of The Walking Dead.
A lot of people rip on The Walking Dead, but that's a pretty fucking good show, man.
I grew a resentment for The Walking Dead after Glenn died. After Negan smashed Glenn's head in, I fucking couldn't watch it anymore.
Really?
For however long it was, like a year or 2 years, I was like, I am done. But then I heard that the final season was really good, and I actually have been really impressed with it. So, yeah, I don't know.
I even that Fear the Walking Dead, that spinoff.
Yeah, I never checked that out.
That's pretty good too. Yeah, well, I mean, and not everybody. I mean, there's shows out there. There's plenty of shows. I tried to watch Breaking Bad.
You have mentioned that before, that you don't like Breaking Bad.
I watched 2 seasons of that shit, and I just couldn't
Yeah,
couldn't
and
get
I
enthused
loved
about
it. I loved I love Breaking Bad. One that I have never been able to get into is Arrested Development. Everybody is like, "Oh, you got to see Arrested Development." You got to see. And I'm just like,
I can't even get into Parks and Rec, and I'm confident that shit's
oh
funny.
my god,
I haven't made it past like the first 15 minutes.
Actually, I don't even know that I really like Parks and Rec. I just love Nick Offerman. He is so great, and I mean, I've read all of his books and shit, and if he narrates anything, I am like right there. The guy is he's one of my personal heroes, is Nick Offerman. Yeah, and he's the reason I have a shop. He's the reason that I yeah. I read a book from him called Good Clean Fun, and it's like it's the most ridiculous book to have be like your Ishmael. Did you ever read Ishmael? Mm-mm. Oh, okay. Your whatever. The book that changes your life. Ishmael is one of those books that they say like changes your life, and it really did. But anyway, okay. But Good Clean Fun is a book where basically Nick Offerman talks about his wood shop and about his heroes in woodworking. And you wouldn't think that would be a book that like would change your life, but I read that thing, and he was in it said like, hey, if you've always wanted to like have a shop, and he said just do it, and like you can do it, and whatever, really encouraging. And I was like, that's it. And then I started looking for space, and I ended up getting a shop, and now I love my shop, and yeah, I couldn't live without it.
You never know where you're gonna find some those life-changing gems and stuff. I mean, shit. Look at Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which nobody's read in fucking 30 years or whatever. Yeah. But, I mean, hey, don't panic. Shit in there. I remember more of Douglas Adams' books than I probably should,
Right.
Even the towel thing and stuff,
that was exactly what I was going to say is putting the towel over your head and they can't see you. Yeah. Or if you can't see them, they can't see you.
Yeah,
I've been there a few times in my life. That's awesome. Coming back full circle, we were talking about writing.
Yes.
And I hold in my memory some writing that you used to do and was it called Take Your Shirt Off, Baby? Is that
Oh,
what it's
Take
called?
Your Top Off, Girl.
Take Your Top Off, Girl. Take Your Top Off, Girl. And I've always felt like those things just need to like come back and read them. I think you should find those and you should read. We should have a Take Your Top Off, Girl segment on the show every week where you can offer your advice. So what was Take Your Top Off, Girl?
Oh, well, Take Your Top Off, Girl was just it was like a collection of like some of them were more like rants, and everything was so it was done as though I were having a conversation with a girl that I wanted to sleep with, and or at least for her to take her top off, and basically it was just this reoccurring the same punchline, different joke, same punchline over and over, and I like it was one of those things like I am. Like, this is why even if I could write something like meaningful, it would be fucking horrible because I never know what people are gonna like. I'll write something that I think is just fantastic, and I'll put it out there, and fucking crickets. I'll write some shit that I'm like, fucking whatever, you know, that I'm totally not satisfied with, and people will eat that shit up. And yeah, when I was writing those, like I had people like, it's Friday, like, come on, you know.
So that was some shit that you didn't think was brilliant.
No, not at all. Like,
oh my God, Take Your Top Off, Girl was so brilliant. So what Kyle would like, and typically he would be having this conversation with this girl, but he would be like building her up and like being very encouraging, like, you know. And she would be saying like, "Oh, I'm so."
And she was usually, you know, and it was usually like real basic bitch, you know, type.
She would be like saying how she wasn't worth anything, and he would be building her up and saying, you know, you're definitely worth it, and you're just one of the most amazing people I've ever seen. And then after telling her all of this great shit, he would say, now take your top off, girl. So he would tell her, he would be like super like amazingly like woke, and then he would just be a complete sexist asshole at the end of it. And I thought they were absolutely brilliant. And when you ceased doing them, I was disappointed.
You know, if I were to do those, I would probably have to do those like just voice, you know, so that I can like you know, just to help me like sound the way that they were intended to, you know. But yeah, those were. I mean, it was fun. I had a good time with those. But you know, eventually, like you get into a relationship and stuff, and that sort of thing gets like less, you know, less feasible. You know, your girlfriend does not think that shit is funny. But and now I'm. I gotta hand it to. I gotta give a shout out to my wife, Christine. And who Matt knows. Matt also was the officiant.
Sure.
At my wedding. So he married Christine and I, and did a fantastic job, and it was all the more meaningful because my dear friend was the one that you know that made us official, and we like Christine is the most tolerant, the most patient, the most wonderful. Because I plan on saying some shit on here. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't like to. I'm super uncomfortable like being filtered and not being able to write like what I want on Facebook, not being able to say what I want on here and stuff. That's not an issue because Christine is super secure and you know, like shit doesn't faze her, and it's wonderful. I don't.
Well, it's interesting having an adult relationship.
Right. You know, I mean, which like is not, you know, which is like the most underrated thing ever, because, you know, like there's, you know, you can have a good time with somebody and you can, you know, but really, you know, like, it's really hard to find, you know, I mean, fucking hard to find. You know, I've been married before, you know, and I've dated a lot of like wonderful girls, you know, some real queens, and some real fucking pigs, and sometimes some that are both, you know, God bless your heart. But you know, like this, I mean, and for better, you know, and I'm not fucking perfect. Holy shit, I'm not easy to be in a relationship with, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Right.
I never know what the fuck I'm doing. I am like, you know, if I have a superpower, it's like shit working out for me because I'm flying by the seat of my fucking pants all the time. but like we stumbled into each other, and it's just magical, and she's very tolerant of my antics and my bullshit. So now I can say whatever the fuck I want because she knows, a joke is a joke,
Right.
and like sometimes like on Facebook or whatever, like a couple of times I have been like, you know what? You're cool enough, Christine. Like, I'm not gonna fucking post this because I don't, I don't want to push that shit too far, Well, I mean, I always want to push it too far, but I'm just like, just out of respect, like I can't, I don't want to put her in that situation because of other people.
Posts. Right. Yes, because you don't want to be disrespectful to her. Not because she would be upset.
Not because she can't hack it, because of outside shit like that she would have to deal with.
Her friends would be like, that shit Kyle said was fucked up.
Yeah. So I mean,
so Kyle sent me a Facebook message. We actually, I don't even know if we have each other's phone number, which is where it's been.
I was actually thinking about that today. I'm like, how the hell do I not have your goddamn phone number?
Yeah, because I changed my fucking phone number like every 6 months. Once they like find me, then I'm like, okay, homie's done. But
we gotta fake your death.
Yeah, I pretty much do. Yeah, about every 6 months. So Kyle messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, I'm getting married this fall, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in officiating or if you'd be willing to officiate our wedding. It was a very sweet message, like I respect you, and I said, getting married, like that's like for mortal men, right? And he sends me back a picture. He says she gets me. Or what did she say? No, he goes, what way? You said something like, she's really cool, whatever. Here, and you sent me a picture of Napoleon Bonaparte on a fucking horse with Kyle's face photoshopped in, right? And if you haven't seen Kyle, what are those things called? Face swaps?
Oh, like face and hole.
And you just you I mean, these are Kyle's like mainstay on Facebook, and it's just this picture of Kyle's face, like, and you said she gave me that for my birthday or whatever.
There I am atop that, it's a portrait of me, and I'm atop that steed with my, like all Napoleonic general style and shit, and it is like Napoleon. The picture of Napoleon was portrait of Napoleon on that noble steed, and just my face is in there, like superimposed over where his face should be, and she gave me that as a present, I'm just like,
and I was like, oh, she's one of us. Okay, that's fine. Like, I get it now. So, and it was really fun. It was it was the first time that I've been an ordained minister for 25 years, but it's the first time I actually found somebody that I was willing to marry. And it was fun. It was very cool.
Great.
And she is great. And it's important to find somebody that can get you. Somebody is here, but I think that's not a real thing. All right. We were talking about having an adult relationship, and Kyle is he's had a few non-adult relationships in my thinking, and he, in
their defense, they were barely adults.
I don't even know that they were adults. And one in particular, I don't want to bring up her name, but she was a very beautiful young woman, and this comes out. Okay, do you guys remember when the guy got tased?
Don't tase me, bro.
Don't tase me, bro. Right. So one of my 1.5 million ideas for like t-shirt hashtag ideas was don't tag me, bro. And that came from this experience where I was out drinking with Kyle and this lovely young woman, and I fall on the ground. I mean, shit happens. It was liquor pigs, right? I fall on the ground, and she immediately jumps on top of me, pretending she's mounted me, and she's pretending she's like going to, like, beating me up, and I am bucking to get her off me. I mean, this is completely innocent. And of course, a photograph gets taken of this,
as they always do.
And it like literally looks like I'm in the middle of a porn act with this lovely scantily clad woman on Facebook, and they fucking tag me, and I am like, don't tag me, bro, don't tag me, bro. Like, that was it. So it was like.
I actually just saw your girlfriend. I was just thinking about that the other day because I saw your girlfriend at the time, like riding bike or something like that, and I was like, hey, I'm like, she hates my guts.
And it might have something to do with that photograph.
It probably.
Well, but the truth is, and I mean, we have mellowed with age.
Well, yeah.
But because our livers would have stopped functioning if we hadn't.
Yeah.
But back in the day, if we got together, like we would fire it up, and there was usually some trouble involved. So.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we never went to jail.
I mean, like this is like based on a picture. I walk into the bar to meet up with Matt and the rest of the guys. And Matt's like, I just ordered this fucking martini and it's terrible. He's
it wasn't terrible. It was just big and we had to go.
Oh, I thought it was awful.
No, it was awesome. Rob made it.
Okay, because I fucking hate martinis.
Yes, you hated it.
But Matt was like,
delicious.
He's like, will you help me with this? And I'm like, fuck, I hate martinis. He's like, come on, let's Lady and the Tramp this bitch. So like in this picture, we actually have straws in the real photograph. We have straws like sticking out of our mouths, and we're drinking a martini together, like looking across the table at each other.
Lovingly in each other's eyes.
Fucking fantastic picture.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, don't tag me, bro. I felt like you would put a pin in something we wanted to get back to.
Let's see. Was it Game of Thrones? Was it?
Was something about? Okay, well, if you think about it.
Okay.
But I wanted to tell you the edibles story.
Yes.
So so as you know, I train a lot doing jiu-jitsu, and this was it's quite a few years ago now. I at the time owned a little coffee shop, the E Squared at the time, and I was training in St. Cloud quite a bit, and I was down there training with Brock and a bunch of the guys, and I was training with this one kid. I'll just say his name was Isaac. But he was a super tough kid. You remember him, right? Yeah, just a monster. Super tough kid, just super athletic. And we're working out one day, and he says, God, I just hate doing this cardio unless I'm high. And I was like, what? I mean, he's like a, pretty, not top level athlete in the scope of the world, but a top level athlete for our little pond. And I was like, what? You get high? That seems so productive for, like, aren't you worried about your lungs and shit? You're a top level athlete. He's like, no, I don't smoke it. I use this vape thing. I use this thing. And I said, oh, okay, I guess I can grok that. That's pretty cool. And then he's like, yeah, you don't get high. And I said, no, I've always had like an allergic reaction to marijuana, and I've tried it a few times in my life, but, a few 100 times in my life, but yeah. I'm just no good at it. Like it makes me drool. I get super stupid.
It's really not for me either.
Dizzy.
But I not that I'm sure as hell not against it.
No, not against it at all. Like legalize it. I feel like for some people it's great, but for me personally, I don't get a good reaction out of it.
Well, it makes me shy, like I don't like, I just retreat back to my,
like my mouth will sag open. I'll start drooling all the side of my mouth. I can't form a sentence. It's an allergic reaction. So he's like, well, one of the best things about this is that I get this byproduct, and I make this butter, and then I cook with it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, I've heard about edibles. I've never had one. And he goes, yeah, it's a totally different reaction than smoking it. And he's like, I'll make you a brownie. And I'm like, all right, sounds great. Months go by, right? And I, hadn't seen him or whatever. And I'm sitting there working one day, and Brock Larson comes walking into my coffee shop, and he's got this little box for me. And he comes in, and I'm working behind the bar, and he's like, Isaac gave this to me? And I was like, oh, my brownie. And he goes, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know. And he's like, and I was like, thanks, bro. And he's like, and he's all pissed off because he realizes it probably had something illicit, but he didn't want to know, and then he runs off. So a couple days go by because I wanted to save it up. I didn't want to do it that night because I was busy. So I waited for a night I had. It was like a Sunday night. I didn't have the kids at home, and I was just gonna sit there, and I was gonna eat this brownie, and I was gonna do some work on my computer.
And watch your television.
Right. Well, I was gonna work on my computer. And at the time, I had this roommate, Sam, and Sam was like the best roommate. He was super respectful of my space. If my door was open, he'd come in and talk to me. But if my door wasn't open, he would never knock or anything. And he was super clean in the communal areas and everything. And I just love Sam. So anyway, I eat the brownie, and I'm sitting there and I'm working on my computer. And about 20, 25 minutes go by, and I think this sucks. I don't feel anything. Okay. And at the time, I had a small room, and my bed there was the end of my bed, and then my computer was set up, my desk was set up, so I was actually sitting on my bed working on my computer, right? And all of a sudden, Sam comes home, and he walks in, and he sees my doors open, and he walks in, and he goes, and I was like, oh fuck, and I'm like, Sam is an alien, and he just keeps talking in this fucking crazy. I'm just like, Jesus fucking Christ, and I don't say anything, and I'm looking up at him, and apparently there's drool coming out of my mouth, and finally he just like gives me a weird look, and he shuts my light off, and he shuts my door, and I immediately just I fall like straight backwards, and I pass out, right? And the next day, I wake up. My legs have been dangling off the edge of the bed for 8 to 10
Dude,
hours
I've fallen
or
asleep
whatever.
like that before. They're dead as shit.
Totally dead.
Crawling
and
around.
I have all my clothes. I'm still wearing my glasses. And like, I also think, did I piss myself? No, that's actually just the drool. Because I was literally in a puddle of drool, and I had to piss so bad. So I like go to get up. Nothing, right? I am army crawling to the bathroom, right? And Sam comes out of the bedroom, and he's like, and he looks at me, and he's a big ginger, big belly. He comes out of the bedroom, he's scratching his belly, and he's like, what did you do last night? I was like, help me get to the bathroom. I'm like literally crawling to the bathroom, and he like kind of grabs me by the back of the shirt, and he helps drag me to the bathroom. I finally get in there, take this, come back out, still hardly have my legs. And he's like, so I sit down at the table, and he's like, dude, what did you do last night? I have never seen anybody so fucked up in my life. And I was like, oh my God, my buddy Isaac gave me this brownie. And he's like, oh, like a pop brownie? And I was like, apparently I don't know, and I ate it. And he goes, well, how much of it did you eat? And I'm like, dude, it was one brownie. I ate the whole thing. And he goes, you can't eat the whole thing, And I was like, well, it didn't come with fucking directions. It was a one brownie. I mean, what, like it didn't say cut in 7 sections or anything. No, I ate the fucking whole brownie. But that is a crazy thing. I mean, that is not, I've been high and I drool and I don't, but that is that's tripping, dude.
Oh, and eating is completely different. You don't even have to use really good pot to make brownies. A friend of mine made some really shitty, took some really, not very spectacular pot. This was a long time ago before pot was fucking super awesome. And made some brownies and shit. And I ate way too many, and I was like, I don't feel shit. This is stupid, And what, Kyle ate too many brownies? Yeah, big, I'm a fat ass. I overdo the shit. So but I ate those fucking brownies, and I was so fucked up. It was New Year's Eve. And I'm supposed to be at this party, so I'm like, I can't fucking drive. I'm like, somebody else has got to drive. I'm too fucked up. I hadn't even started drinking. I'm like, I can't fucking drink on this.
Oh, God.
I'm fucking wasted. And we get there, and I'm like, whoa. I'm just not having a good time. I'm fucked up. Fuck it. So, yeah, I can tell you this part of the story. I can tell you this. I'll share this.
This is no holds barred.
So a friend of mine's like,
bar radio.
I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, I'm too fucked up to be here. I'm like, I'm just fucked up, man. I'm like, those fucking brownies just killed me. And he's like, I've got some acid.
Oh, that'll help you out.
Dude, it did.
Really?
It wound up, I wound up, the acid actually, straightened me out and let me, fucking kind of power on through. And it wasn't, particularly good acid, so it was, just, one hit acid. And I, and it fucking, had the most, sobering, counter. I mean, I still had a good time.
Interesting,
that night,
yeah.
But it counteracted that shit enough so that it straightened me out and I could maintain. Oh yeah. Basically, if you ever take too much of a drug, just take acid. Was the moral of my story?
Yeah.
Okay, that's bad advice. Don't do that.
I don't know if it's bad advice, but it's definitely advice we ought not to offer with any type of authority.
Yeah, no.
But that is kind of interesting that the acid. So I've never.
The opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of our.
I've never done acid. I've never done any hallucinogenics other than that one brownie trip, which I don't, which like literally at that point, I mean, it that's a hallucination. And then I've had 2 DMT trips.
No shit.
Yeah.
The spirit molecule.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar. I mean, I've seen.
I'm not familiar.
I've read the
spirit molecule. You are familiar, bro.
No, well, just I read the. I watched the documentary that
Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a fan. I just don't love his stand up because I think I'm funnier. But did I say that out loud? No, to me, the person's sense of humor is very
fucking
individual.
Spirit molecule, bitch.
Yeah. So yeah, and what was that like? Because I'm gonna tell you this. I used to feel like this sounded crazy. But it sounds less crazy the more people that with similar experiences I talk to. I've been telling people for fucking decades now that, like, although I don't take it anymore, and it's been forever since I did take it, I feel like I'm a better person for having taken LSD constructively around the people that I did and in the space that I did, because it kind of changed me a little.
I want to tell you about the DMT, but I think that is true. Like, there is some really good research going on now with using LSD as a treatment for like PTSD and all of that, and it makes sense. And I am by no means an expert on the brain. I hardly even have one. But the way that I understand trauma patterns is that trauma patterns, like if you have PTSD, you go to war and you see all this horrific shit and you get this, and then you come back and it's the 4th of July and like you see you hear the bombs and you freak the fuck out. That has nothing to do with your rational mind. That has to do with your your cortical brain stem having a trauma pattern, and you can't rewrite that shit unless I shouldn't say that you can't rewrite that shit but using LSD really gives you the ability to kind of unlock that code and rewrite it. And I find that absolutely amazing.
Have you ever seen the I watched a special, it was a news program, and they were showing like the old like black and white video of like alcoholics being treated using LSD by psychiatrists and stuff.
Right.
And I mean, and so like these guys, like, and they shit. This was probably 20 years ago that I watched this, and the guy was it was black and white video. I must have been for like late 40s, early 50s or something.
Right.
And they're experimenting on these guys, and one of the guys, they're interviewing him, and he's like, "Thank God, for the LSD.
Right.
Thank God for those experiments because it cured him. Like he never touched another drop." But I mean, it just, and you saw them like break him down, like not horribly, but like he was crying and stuff, like when confronted with like what he was doing to his family and his loved ones and whatnot.
Right.
And when it was all said and done, when the smoke cleared, that motherfucker never touched another drop,
way that it was, that I heard it described and I thought it was really interesting, is when you're using LSD in a therapeutic manner like that, so like a guided trip with like a therapist or whatever. It's like the difference between like it's a little bit technical, but trying to write something or trying to write it in code. Like, you have access to the HTML code. Now you can actually change the appearance of things.
I like that. Versus
just rearranging the surface area. So like, I thought that was an interesting analogy, and yeah, I'm super, sign me up, man. Like, I got some trauma shit. So like trauma patterns, like when I was younger, in my early 20s, I got attacked. I got my 2 dogs got into a fight, and I got in between them, and I got fucked up. One of my dogs fucked me up really bad. And I, from that point forward, have had a really hard time when I first meet a dog, and I get this immediate, like, visceral reaction. And I love dogs, but it's not something I can control. Like, my gut goes, and then of course the dog goes, "Why is this motherfucker afraid of me?" Probably ought to bite him then.
Yeah, let's go with it.
Right, which happens to me all the time. And I have worked really hard to try to get through that. I felt like if I felt confident in my ability to to like fight a dog, then I would be like, I would feel better. And so I actually
Is
went.
that why you wound up in Tibet with that like Himalayan dog, like learning that technique from him and shit for
No,
like 3 years?
But I did have some serious intensive like dog fighting training, and yeah, so it's really tough. But I feel like with an LSD trip and some guided like actual therapy, I could like get through that. But I don't know. That would be a good test.
Well, you know, I mean, it's. I feel like it would be harder to do, like, because I mean, I was young then. You know, like you have to be kind of really like free. You know, like and like not have a lot of shit on your plate.
And that's the main reason why I never have.
Yeah.
Is because I've been busy for like 27 years.
Well, as soon as I started having, you know, as soon as I had my kids, I was like, well, fuck, I've got real world worries now. I got to be a fucking adult, you know,
Right.
like, so I'm not.
When can I check out?
Let me set
for,
this shit aside. And,
like, you know, they say you really need like 2 days, you know, one for the experience and then one for the recovery kind of thing. And I mean, I don't have fucking 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had 2 days in a row off
And I
in
mean,
like 1.5 million years.
I feel like I like accomplished what I need to. I used to be kind of a hothead, you know, and I mean, and like I moved away for a while, and when I came back, you know, like me, you know, friends, even my sister was like, "You've changed, you know, you're
Really?
you're a lot calmer, you're a lot cooler," you know, and I'm like, yeah, you know, like I get what you're saying.
Interesting.
But and that's you know, like maybe not, you know, maybe it's not, but I'm fairly confident that I can attribute at least part of that to it. You know, because I took it around really, you know, like cool, smart hippie kids that had taken it before and stuff, and we didn't get up to anything fucking super weird, you know, like we're like maybe we're running around in the park after dark butt ass naked or whatever, but I mean, like you know, but mostly like a lot of like great conversations and stuff like that, and sitting around, like, you know, with positive people and stuff.
So have you
yeah,
done? Did
good.
you do anything else like mushrooms or?
Yeah, mushrooms? Yeah, but mushrooms were a bad idea for me. Last time I took them, again, I was very young, and like we're in my buddy's bedroom. We're about to go out, and it was just, everything about this was just a horrible idea. And you know, the rest of the guys are like yeah, I took like you know, a couple of stems and a cap, you know, like, yeah, I took 2 caps, you know, like, Kyle, how much did you take? And I'm like, I can't clear my mouth, you know, like I took way too much. And then we went to a fucking nightclub, like a dance club, which is such a horrible environment for this shit like that. Yeah, so I did not have a good time. Yeah, if you do those things, you're gonna have a bad time.
Well, don't be putting that in their head, man. I mean,
no,
like,
not
it's all
mushrooms
about-
itself. I mean, just like
don't
if you
go to the
fuck it
nightclub.
up like that.
Actually,
like,
just
you
mostly
know.
nightclubs suck. So
No, that's true, bro.
yeah, I have such.
shouldn't say
It's really weird because I have such
My
a
nightclub is
limited.
awesome.
Except for Zarbus are great. I have such a limited experience with it, but I did get to take this DMT trip, and that was I've taken 2 of them, and it was really an interesting and like the least drug experience of my entire life. Right, so it was a buddy of mine, and I'm not going to name him, but a guy who I train with, who like was like, dude, I really want to go on a DMT trip. Would you be willing to like go with me? Which it doesn't mean like, hey, let's go together. It means like he'll go, I'll go, because you want somebody there, you know, to like make sure you come back out. You know,
A Sherpa.
A Sherpa. Yep, somebody to call 911 essentially is what it is in case something goes wrong. Though I mean, I don't know. Okay, so I usually love to like research everything. Just like setting up this podcast, I like, you know, I spent like, you know, weeks like looking at all the different stuff I needed and all this. But in this thing, I just didn't want to. I didn't really want to do the research, and I was like, yeah, figure it out and then explain it to me, and then let's go. Right, so he did all the research and he found it and he did everything, and it was really neat. So he came over one night, had a nice area set up, I have like a massage table. I had a massage table set up with headphones and we had like a mask, you know, you pull down like a night mask, so you know, because you want to be completely as sensory deprived as you can during the experience, or else you can like get pulled out of it, you know, it'll shorten it up. All right, is what they say. Again, not my research, his research, but that was his. And he got the stuff, and I don't know exactly what he got, but he purchased it legally online. And there's several, I don't know exactly what it was, but there are several substances that you can still get, but basically you have the DMT in it. And DMT, from what I understand, is completely unlike any other, and really, and I don't want to talk out of my ass, but from the way I understand it, the DMT is not what you're taking. Like, DMT is already there. It's the drug that's inside of you. Yeah. All you're doing is opening the door for that DMT. And people
it occurs naturally in your body. It occurs
naturally in your body and in every plant, and it's all over the place.
Right on.
The spirit molecule is what they call it. So all you're basically taking is the key. You're not taking the drug. The drug's there, or the chemical is already there, and all you're doing is unlocking it. You're tapping into it. And several substances apparently do that. This one was completely legal, so you end up. And apparently you can have a DMT trip even without taking any drugs, like through really intensive meditation or dying, right? A lot of people think that when people who have past life experiences are actually having a DMT trip. Near-death experiences, not past life. Yeah, near-death experiences are actually experiencing a DMT trip, that your body releases that chemical like when it thinks you're dying, and maybe it's the fucking gateway to the other side. I just have no idea. So he goes ahead and he does it. He smokes it. You smoke, there's several ways to do it, but basically we had a crack pipe, essentially, or like a light bulb pipe that, and you need to inhale 3 big tokes, if you will, and then yeah. So he had his experience, whatever. Then he came back, and I don't want to. That's his story to tell. I might touch on it a little bit, but then my turn comes, and he didn't go as far, he didn't blast off as far as I was like, fuck, if I'm doing it, I'm fucking in, so I chill, just like taking these huge things. So the first breath I take in, I didn't really feel much of anything. The smoke was kind of cool. By the second one, man, everything's going neon and bright and cool. And on the third one, was it. I handed in the pipe, I laid back, he put the shit on, and I went just to the fucking through the universe. And it's really hard to describe, impossible. But I felt like I was kind of being birthed through this birth canal, and then I came out into this really intricate pattern, right? And I was looking around, and it was I was kind of standing in the center of this crazy pattern, and every fucking psychedelic weird little hippie video you've ever seen in your life, but that was it. There's actually a really great cartoon. What's that crazy cartoon on Comedy Central or whatever everybody likes? Thar likes it a lot. Whatever. But so it's this crazy pattern, and I think, oh, this is pretty cool. But then I'm like, oh, is this it? Is this it? I'm supposed to go talk to God, and this is all I get. And then all of a sudden, that pattern just exploded exponentially, right? And then all of a sudden, I realized that I am looking at the universe, right? This is the entire pattern of the universe. And I was like, wow, this is everything. And then I realized that I wasn't looking at the pattern of the universe. I was actually looking at the pattern of my neural net. And then I was like, wait a second. Are you saying, and I'm having this dialogue in my head, right? And I'm like, are you saying that I am the universe? And then this fucking voice, literally, speaks to me, but inside of me, there is no audio. It's just omnipresent. Says, yeah, of course it is. Don't be a dum-dum, of course you are everything. Duh. Yeah, essentially that was it. Duh. Right?
See, yeah. I thought you were going to tell me that you discovered your spirit animal was a dog, and that left you really fucking conflicted.
Yeah. There is a part of it. So then I kind of have this conversation with God, right? About how I am everything, and everything is me. And this voice is my voice, but it's your voice, and we are all interconnected. And it's really hard to describe, but I also got this like overwhelming feeling. Do you know how about like a forest, right? Like you think of it as individual trees and plants and so on and so forth, but underneath there is this fungal network that kind of controls everything and like will literally like redirect water and shit like that. Have you heard anything about that?
Not really.
It's fucking crazy shit. But like it feels like there's that kind of thing that like permeates the entire like multiverse span of existence, where like literally we are all connected, right? And now I have never in my life believed in a guiding like force to the universe. I shouldn't say not in my life, but like since I was like 17, after I gave my life to Jeebus, I lost my religion and I've never found that fucking thing. It wasn't in my trunk. So like I just have never had this like feeling that there was, and all of a sudden I like realized like that there is, but it's so much different than what I ever thought. Not like, oh, they're like the guy in the sky, but that like we are all God. Like we like
it's just
I am a God.
It's just not some blue-eyed white guy like these are my dad's rules, yo.
Right, exactly. Right. But no, it is that as well as everything else. So that's it. So people were like, but isn't this
So you're not wrong.
So the answer to the question is just like, what is this podcast? Yes. Like, is that God? Absolutely. But so is this. And so is that. And so then at the very end, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then the voice said, now go back and share. And then I came back out. I woke up. And when I woke up, and I was only out for like 3-4 minutes, right away I like sat up and I wanted to like talk to my buddy about it and like process it. So I take the thing out, and yet like it's totally but it's pretty dark in the place. And yet like everything is still like super, I can see like super well, and everything's super bright and whatever. It never went away. Like I see color better now from that day forward. And if I think about it, I can even like increase the ability, like as I am like, if I start to talk about it, even like as I'm talking right now, I can feel like that, like it's a bizarre thing, really weird. I have no explanation for that.
Hey.
So it was an amazing experience. He had an amazing experience. So then about 3 months after that, and again, like totally like the most ridiculously undrug experience. We had like notebooks and like sat down and like talked for 4 hours afterward, and we're writing shit down and stuff. And then about 3-4 months later, he wants to do another one. And I said, all right, so whatever. And this time we wanted to kind of go in with intent and like, you know, like there, like a lot of people talk about like, you know, like making a list of things that you want to work on or whatever. So we do this, and I had a bad experience.
No.
But it wasn't like a bad trip exactly, though it was not comfortable. All right. And I kind of had the same experience, so I went through, but then I was in this really crazy kind of like the Tron video, like, and there was this noise, this overwhelming like pounding noise, and then there was this crazy fucking red bird thing that like is somehow like connected to like the New Mexico like fucking little Piper deal with it was like all this really crazy imagery. And I, without any message, no voices, nothing, get shot back out. I'm like, what the fuck was that? It was fucking crazy.
Wrong number. Fuck you.
Exactly. That was it. Like, dude, did you change the DOT?
Shit.
And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I thought about it. And what I feel like now is that my second experience was like, them, us, everything, saying like, it's this too, right? We showed you all the cool stuff last time. I told you we're all connected. But there's bad shit too, motherfucker. We are all connected. You are evil as much as you are good. There is all of this stuff, and there's a dark side to it too. There's not good and evil. There's yes, you know? And it, like, thinking, well, this place is, but it was an interesting experience. I don't know if I'll have a third, but I believe it is something that everyone should do at some point in their life, because everybody says, like, I had my life before I did DMT, and then I had my life. I mean, that is such a common thing, and it is totally true. Like, it was mind opening, and we need Donald Trump to have a DMT trip.
You'd be a game changer.
It would totally be a game changer.
Man. Man, I can't believe. Well, I can believe you've never told me that story before, because we don't get to spend that much time together.
Well,
That's awesome,
I mean,
though.
and here's my really personal drug story. That, like, I mean, it's actually a story I really like to tell. I wrote it, but I wouldn't share it. I didn't share it because, I mean, like, so this is, I don't know what consequences this shit will have. I don't care anymore. Like, about anything. Like it's like, you know what? I want to do this, and I'm willing to be as vulnerable and as honest as I can with my life, which probably will have consequences, because it always does, right? Like, anytime vulnerability always has consequences. Yeah. But I'm like,
somebody's one of you fuckers is judging us right now.
Oh, I'm sure. But I'm willing to do that for people. Yeah, but it was an amazing experience. And it's been fresh. I mean, this was like within the last year. So.
Yeah, I just like I don't know. I don't like. I was sitting there. I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. I'm missing out. But then I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's for me or not.
I think it's for everybody. One of the things about it that is really awesome is that it's not a huge time investment, right? There's
well, like, what's your
first time I was out for like 3 minutes, and the next one I think I was out for 9.
Really?
But that 3 minutes
was an eternity.
there wasn't time, dude. There was no time frame. Like, if I would have came back and my friend would have said you were gone for 3 days, that would have been no more of a surprise than you were gone for 3 minutes. Like, it was completely separate from time. Which, I mean, totally makes sense. I mean, our brain works at like ridiculous, fast intervals. So yeah, that was bizarre. But regardless, I think like 20 minutes is like the longest you can possibly go out from it.
Oh, jeez.
And no hangover, no residuals other than better color vision. Which is fucking weird.
That is weird.
Yep.
But
and then the other day I was at
well, I mean, not when I think about my understanding of the brain, though, which is nil. Like,
right? Exactly.
Is it weird? I don't know.
Yeah, could do anything. The other day I was at jiu-jitsu and I got choked unconscious.
Yeah.
Which happens. It's not that big of a deal. I was on top. I was passing this guy's guard, and I was in a winning position, and he kind of like got his little hands in, and he was in a little baseball chokey thing, and I just thought I was fine. I just didn't respect it, and then the next thing I know, I am laying there, and he's holding my feet up, laughing, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, dude, you didn't tap. And I was like, where are we? And I had no idea. But then I jump up and I was like, oh my God, I totally had like a DMT flashback. And I've had a few other ones like right before I was going to sleep or whatever, where I just see these like little like crazy intense
do that
visions.
again.
Yeah. Well, did you ever, when you were a kid, did you ever do the hyperventilating thing and then you get squeezed and you go, no? I don't remember what they called it, but well, it's kind of like that where you're. This is pretty interesting. But that's the nice thing about. Well, but I got a headache from getting choked unconscious, but I didn't even get a headache from smoking the DMT.
I'll have to consider that.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience.
All right, what's next on the docket?
Yeah, what else do you want to talk about?
Man, I don't know. What do we? Shit. I'm going to leave here and I'm going to think of fucking 20 things.
Well, it's good. So we will write them down and we'll come back. So basically what our plan is to get together one time a month, at least to start out with, right? So we're going to get together one time a month. We're probably going to have a guest, but not always. It'll just depend on what's going on or what burning, desires we have to talk about. We're not going to do a time limit. This show could be an hour long, could be 5 hours long. It just depends. That's it. We're going to try not to edit it In the beginning, we might have to do some quick little edits in case we go off the rail, but I'm not going to edit any of this. I mean, nothing.
I'm kind of happy with how well this went.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew it was going to go there. I knew just sitting next to you, I would have a blast. And then
if other people find us as interesting as we find ourselves,
we're going to be fucking famous, right? We're gonna we want to do some advice stuff because we would love to take on your problems
some
and
segments. I actually there was one thing that I was gonna message you the other day, but I was like, oh fuck, what are the odds we can squeeze that in? I wanted to see like how hard it would be to just like splice in another video because I wanted to go over to like the middle school. Because I'm a big thing for me. Like I'm celebrating not having to drop my stepson off in that loop over at the Middleview or at the middle school anymore.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And because mostly I wanted to rant and rave about the people that like stop like right in front to save their fucking kid that extra 15 steps and fuck everybody behind them. You know, like. You know, and basically, like I don't know if you read my little rant on Facebook about it.
I was something I wanted to talk about.
That shit makes me fucking furious. People like have the nerve to like bitch about kids as if these motherfuckers like invent themselves. You know, like, oh, kids are shitty. You know, like, you know why kids are shitty? Because we're fucking shitty. We're fucking horrible. You know, like we do shit like that. Fuck everyone else. You know, I'm gonna stop right here. Like, people, you know, some people, like, somebody's gonna watch this and be like, I can't believe those guys talked about drugs. You know, like, oh, what if kids watch this? What if kids watch you doing shit like saying fuck everybody that's behind you, not respecting them or their fucking time, and stop right there and fuck all those people because you can't make your fucking kid walk a few more steps to get into the school. That's you know, like that kind of shit. It sets a bad precedent. It's a fucking horrible example. You know, and that shit drives me fucking crazy. Little things like that. I'm such a fucking chill guy throughout most of my life, but it's like I get in my car and I fucking think about shit. I see people's worst behavior from their fucking cars, and I just want to beat them with a fucking tire iron. I mean, it drives me nuts. Okay, cool. I've said my piece.
It cracks me up because you like. I don't know if you can tell by the in this video, and if you don't know Kyle personally, you're a strapping middle-aged man. You're a large dude, right? And I don't know for sure, but I think you've spent some time lifting some weights in your life.
I do a lot of yoga.
Yeah, I do a lot. I fucking wish I did a lot of yoga, dude.
Me too.
Every
time I can't like I've got shirts like this where I'm like the tags. I know the tag's sticking on my shirt. I can feel it. I can't reach it. Fuck that tag. But you know, I should do some stretching and shit. I mean,
yeah. Like you might actually be able to wipe your ass if you did some yoga. It would be nice.
That's going away.
I went to a couple of weeks ago. I went to Jessica Dowd's yoga over at the Fine Line, and it was for work. We went in just for work, and it was just like this introductory little yoga thing for work, and it was fun. You know, it was very super chill, very nice, whatever. And then that night, that was a Monday, and then that night I went to jiu-jitsu, and I fucking felt like a god again. I was like, oh my God, I need to do more yoga because Jesus Christ, like I felt just so good. But I was so fucking sore the next day from doing like the most ridiculously chill yoga, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting old, and I got to start taking care of this body a little bit better. I mean, I'm like I work out a lot. I really keep an eye on my diet. I try to be healthy. But then I also realize that I treat my body like shit all the time. And then I just expect it to keep on going. And it's like, what if I did that to my car? You know, if I'm like, yeah, you don't need your oil changed and you don't need new tires. And then, I mean, obviously that shit's going to fall off if I'm driving it like a Ferrari. It's just ridiculous. But you, big man, like I was saying before, Jason was saying that it's interesting and you look like such a meathead and yet you can have this really intelligent conversation. But you are a fucking road rager. I
don't know if I'd say rage because rage implies like an uncontrollable I do get pissed off, and it is like the place where I get pissed off the most, you know. But I don't flip people off, and I don't I did follow a guy to his place of employment the other day because he flipped me off. I mean, first he locked him up like in the intersection, like this guy's like zipping in and out of fucking traffic. And I'm like, well, cool. This guy's an aggressive driver, whatever. Like, awesome. I'll get behind him. And because I was, running behind. But so, like, I'm behind him, and I wasn't like, I know tailgating. I fucking hate being tailgated, and I don't tailgate other people. But this guy, like, felt like I was following him too closely while he's zipping in and out of fucking traffic, and he locks him up in the intersection, and I'm like, what the fuck, So I hit my brakes and shit. I'm like, what's going on? And he fucking flips me off, and then hangs a quick right, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I gotta get to the bottom of this, and I just, basically I warned the guy that, like, there's fucking crazy people out there, and I'm not one of those people, like, I have my wife and my stepson in the car, so I'm not gonna do anything crazy in front of them anyway, so I'm like, I talked to the guy, but every time I'd start to walk away, he'd start running his fucking mouth at me, and finally, like, I'm like, man, I'm like, you have a good day. I'm like, if I shit on your day at all, I'm sorry, just, didn't mean anything by it, I hope the rest of your day's better, And I walk away, and I open my fucking car door, and he's like, you need to be more fucking careful. I close the fucking door, walk back over there, and I'm like, you motherfucker. I'm like, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to leave. I'm like, but if you open your fucking mouth again, I'm going to pull you out that goddamn window and beat you senseless. I'm like, don't fucking do it. I'm like, whatever you're thinking, don't fucking do it. Because I'd already talked to him about fucking, like, cause he's like digging under his seat and shit. I'm like, whatever you're going to pull out, like, fucking, I'm going to snatch you up before you clear that fucking weapon, son. But, and he's getting weird on me. It better be bigger than a
9mm, because I could take a 9mm.
But I'm like, so don't fucking do it. I'm like, just let it be, and he looks at me, and I fucking walk back to my car, and he didn't say a fucking word, and I got in, I drove away, maybe I do get a little road rage, but I don't attack people, but I did, like, I did tell that guy, like, dude, don't flip people off. You don't want to, and basically I was like, don't shit on somebody's day like that. Like, it's early. It's too early in the day to fucking, like, to flip people off and fucking do shit like that, But I do get pretty goddamn mad when I see people do shitty stuff like that, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I do. Maybe I am a road rager.
It's just so incredibly uncharacteristic of you,
right?
Because you are like a hard guy to piss off. I know that in your life you're a bouncer, and like you're a big dude. You're a bouncer, and you and like. And
people are always telling me, like, you're so patient. You're so patient.
I've always heard that about you. I've always noticed that about you. You're like you just don't lose it, except behind that
in the
fucking
car.
wheel.
Yeah.
And that is weird. My question to you is, how does that serve you? Like,
lots of material for, like, Facebook rants and stuff like that.
Okay,
a lot of it, like, some things, like a lot of shit pisses me off, but at the same time, I'm like, this is gonna make a fucking really good story, and because I write it up and I add some colorful language, and some descriptive phrases and stuff. And
we don't need the truth to get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that, how does it serve me? It actually makes me feel like a little, I've conquered this stuff, like, like slowly throughout my life, and become more patient and like a more temperate person and stuff. But this, I'm like, man, what do I do to fucking, to solve this? But I keep plugging away at shit like that. Like I the other day I wrote that thing about how my interactions with like a lot of like Somali immigrants and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, like, and I don't know, like I put a question out there, like my question was, like, is this a cultural thing, or like, like, why am I, like, I'm like, why are these people like what do you mean these people?
Right.
Well, like, why do these folks like I can't get them to warm up to me, I'm very courteous and like and I'm like that was just rude, man, but I'm like, that must be a cultural thing. So we had that conversation about it on Facebook, and got some good input.
Like, some good input, some like ridiculous
some
input.
garbage input.
I mean, but
some
that's
good.
a Facebook. I mean, it's the cesspool.
Yeah.
I mean, some, like.
And some of it was really valuable, and I value a lot of the people on there, even the people that I don't necessarily agree with on a lot of stuff, because we have good conversations, for the most part. There's some fucking knuckle draggers out there, but I mean, whatever. A lot of those guys are fucking like decent people in their everyday lives. They just are stupid on the internet, but then, and I've been meaning to go on there and follow that up, because my last couple of interactions were super pleasant, really like wins. I just had to keep like being nice and finally get like a good, like some good like feedback, and so I got to do the same thing, like just keep trying to chill myself out, like when I'm driving, and not get so fucking angry.
Because I just don't. I do have one road rage experience, but it really wasn't a road rage thing. But I'll tell the quick story in a second. But like I'm teaching my son, he's got his driver's license now, but I've been teaching him how to drive, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter if this guy's going slow, but if we pass him and take our lives at risk, and then watch, he's gonna be right behind us at the next stoplight. So it just doesn't matter. Let him go his speed.
It's the truth.
Let him do his thing. It's not going to make a difference in the long run. And if your life is so fucking busy that you got to like take risks to get somewhere, well then chill your life out. That's my advice
Fair.
to you.
Well, see, I'm not a very aggressive driver.
Right, it's just when other people are aggressive toward you that
and
is irritating.
Like
yes.
in fact, like I'm not shy about it. Like I basically drive like old people fuck. I mean, it's like I'm.
So you're not the one who's like, oh, this fucker guy is going so slow, and then trying to get around him and stuff.
No,
like that.
no,
okay.
none of that.
Okay, well, that's good.
That shit's crazy.
That's
but I will bitch. Like if I will bitch at it. Like if somebody is putzing along really slow, like in the left lane or something like that, I find that aggravating. But I'm not going to go to any weird lengths or put anybody in danger to get around them or anything.
Right.
I hate that shit. I mean, and I drive.
So
like,
you're
I drive
the
a
one
soccer
who
mom
hates
car,
hates it when the person is doing that.
Yeah, the overly aggressive shit just drives me crazy.
I don't like that either, obviously, but I just
like rudeness and hostility are my triggers when I'm driving.
Right.
So.
And rudeness and hostility are my triggers. Like when somebody is being rude and hostile, I get like it. I remember I was in the grocery store 7 years ago, and I used to be super hot tempered too, but I have like mellowed, and the more and more I do martial arts too, the more like I realize that I don't need to there's nothing like what are you gonna do to me? I mean, like I got really, really tough people beating me up all the time. Like you're kind of a pussy. But I was in Cub Foods one day, and there this lady was just bitching out this kid who had worked there, and he was like getting like almost gonna like tear up, and she's just, well, you said it, and I like was in my cart, and I like looked over there and I saw it, and she's just won't let him go, and he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm gonna need to go get my manager. This is like my second day, and she's like, well, you should know, and I just like pushed my cart in between her and him. And like her cart, I'm like sliding her cart down the glass, and I like opened up the thing and grabbed the ice cream. She's just like looking at me like, and I said and I put it in there, and I'm like you're a bitch, and then I just like kept going, and then I like put the ice cream that I didn't want back into another spot, and I look back, and the kid's just got this like these big puppy dog eyes, like thank you. But it's just like, yeah, don't be a cunt. I mean, there's no reason to be a cunt, period, in your life.
Yeah, don't shit all over people, man. No. I mean, it's...
And sometimes because you're a big physical person, I've spent some time, sometimes you feel like you need to punish incivility, and I get that. Like, and sometimes I'm like, I'm capable of punishing this person for being an asshole, so maybe I ought to. But for the most part, that doesn't really serve me. But every once in a while. So the story of the road rage thing is I was actually in the parking lot at Mid-Minnesota at the bank, right? And they were doing some construction or whatever, so I had to go just a very, very short way, the wrong way down a one-way, all right, to pull out. And as I'm sitting there and I was looking and I was like, oh, I want to go this way, but whatever. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to go down the wrong way, down the one way. And I start turning. And this fucking asshole was in the parking lot in his minivan, like sees me doing that. And he like whips around and like cuts me off. Right. And he's like yelling, one way, you know. And
Did you roll down the window and say,
no.
or another?
Oh, that would have been so good. That would have been so good.
Where was I when you needed me?
I put it in park, and I got out of the car, and I did this, you know, and I look at his wife, whose eyes get like the size of does, and his 2 children in the back. And his window is down, and he's like, "You're going down the wrong way, down a one way." And I said, "Sir, will you please step out of the car? Because I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you in front of your wife and children." And he like goes. And you just like lip starts quivering, and then I like just start walking toward him. Lo and behold, he went the wrong way down a one way. What a fucking hypocrite!
Yeah. People. Yeah.
But thank God, because I might have went to prison. Like I literally wanted to drag him out and like curb stomp him.
So he was he was like me, only he was a rules enforcer. He was Like his thing wasn't like discourtesy or
he's gonna go the wrong way
be
down
over aggressive.
Like, I should go get my ass kicked.
He was like a compulsive rule follower. That's the guy that like stops at a goddamn stop sign out in the middle of the country when you can see for fucking 3 miles both ways. You know, like
yeah. Man, my heart rate is up just thinking about that. I was so pissed about that. That was years and years ago. Today, I think I would have just went, yes, you're right. People on their fucking phones, though, drive me nuts.
Oh, man. But, you know,
and then you do it?
I do it. I do it. You know,
I
like,
actually rear-ended
I don't do it like a lot of these, like, I mean, but, you know, like, if I'm like sitting at a stoplight, which also lends itself to me some asshole behavior. I'm in touch with my asshole behaviors too, like because I have like no, like yeah, I got time. I gotta check this quick, and then honk. I'm like, oh fuck, you know, like now I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
But my number one asshole thing, and I've been meaning to go online to see if I can like buy a device because I know they make them for old people. So my Pilot, like the turn signals don't make any noise. Oh. So like I am that fucking guy driving along for goddamn 10 miles with my signal on when I'm not fucking turning. I'm just an asshole. And, you know, and some people hate that, you know. So I'm like, how fair is it for me to, like, get so pissed off with this, you know? Everybody's
as long as they're
shit,
not endangering, like, you know, I mean, but that's actually a little bit dangerous to have your turn signal on forever.
Yeah. You know, I'm like, why
actually,
that asshole pull in front of me?
I think that just makes you old.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Maybe it does make a sound. And I just can't hear that shit.
That might be true.
Because, I mean, my hearing is not what it used to be, nor is my eyesight, nor is fucking anything. But, yeah, shit. I just turned 46 on Tuesday.
I'm 46.
Yeah?
Yeah, I turned 46 in December. Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was your birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, happy birthday to Kyle. Getting old's rough.
Indeed.
Yeah. And we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
For the most part.
We're much better off than a lot of people our
age.
Shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. So we got sidetracked again, but we were kind of talking about like how we're going to do this. So we're going to do this once a month. We're going to have on some cool guests. We're not worrying about time limits. We are looking for people to be interactive.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear from you.
If you want to check us out, it's going to be all over Facebook. We should be on. It takes a while at first to get everything up and running, and you have to have an episode before you can even start that process. But we should be available on pretty much every podcast platform, and then we also have a YouTube channel, Spitballin'. YouTube channel, and that links will be just all over Facebook. So please find us, check us out, subscribe to us, message us, interact with us. If you're interested in being a guest, let us know about that. Hit us up on the street. Be careful if it's Kyle and you're in your car because he's an asshole. But this is going to be really fun. Is this it? We wrapping?
Yeah.
All right. So
I feel good about
one
this.
of the things that we talked about for sure that we want to do every episode is we want to kind of profile, and we're going to use a song, a different song from different musicians, and to bring out to bring us out. And the song that we have today, what is it?
Laramie.
This is one of the songs that Kyle and I have like bonded over for years.
The brilliant Drew Peterson wrote this and played this when he was in 40-watt bulb.
In 40-watt bulb. And Drew Peterson is probably one of the most prolific songwriters in Minnesota.
So much good stuff.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, and they're all such high quality. So this song is about a dude that back in the Old West who gets on a train and ends up...
Be right back's exactly where he said he'd be.
Yeah, okay, we should not sing. It's about a dude who's on a train, and he ends up getting like busted for having something, a bag that's not his. And I talked to Drew just years and years ago. He's been playing for me for 20-ish years. So this was back at the first original Eclectic Cafe, and I asked him about the song because I just really loved it. And I said, well, what was going on? And he said two things. He said, I was watching this Western, and he thought it was really interesting how people in the Old West the crime would go up in areas where there weren't trees or something because it's harder to hang them, right? From in a place. I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing is he was in an airport, and he saw a sign about how don't leave your bags unattended, right? Don't leave your bags unattended. And that's what this song is about. It's just about a dude who ends up getting stuck with somebody else's bag, and he's gonna
has to answer for it.
And he's got to pay the price. So it's a very interesting song. So thank you for joining us, and let's listen to
I hope you like it as much as we do.
Darling dear, what a fear has happened to the engineer. Must have scared him what he saw. Whistle blow, should be time to go, but where he is no one would know. The train stands still east of Omaha. Just question the brakeman, why the train stopped miles short of the station. Said my friend, the half-assed grin, lift this in, where are we then? To begin, the story's old, the truth be told, sometimes you buy the same soul. Man you asked for went by the name of Lee. Wonder why you wanna hang him high, just like his daddy that dangled him in the sky. Stretch his neck up for everyone to see. That's why I lived in Cheyenne, said you couldn't see a single tree as far as Laramie. Stay without a tree, exactly where he wants to be. But if it was me, I don't think I'd have to worry about no tree killing me. Darling dear, what a fear has happened to the engineer. Must have scared him what he saw. Johnny Law, chewing chaw, riding hard up from Omaha. 12 men turned into deputies. So please believe me when I say that man wasn't with me. Ain't my bag, my left leg. I'll be right back's exactly where he said he'd be. So please watch my stuff for me. The devil in me can't be free, can't you see there ain't no tree gonna be killing me? The devil in me can't be free, can't you see there ain't no tree gonna
Mitch. Woo!
That was awesome.
I think it was fun.
Yeah, that was a fucking. I was like, how long did we do this for? An hour? That was more than an hour. But I mean.